Hi and welcome to Real Reviews. My name's Martin Carr and today I was lucky enough to talk to Jack Fisk, who is a legendary production designer and worked with Jennifer Lawrence on her new movie Causeway. So let's get into that. So Jack, thank you for thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Yeah.
I guess maybe the first question would be, how did you get involved with Causeway?
I was sent the script, and then I met Lila, and she's just like a infectious, energy-driven, brilliant person, and I wanted to work with her. Yeah.
Fair enough. So would you say it's Lila that attracted you first to the project? Was it the subject matter or was it the story they were trying to tell?
I think it was to see the thing that really attracted me was to see Jennifer Lawrence in a serious role like Winter's Bone or one of her earlier films. I've always, I've always loved her as an actress, and it was great. By working on this film, I got a front row seat to see her do this, and it, and then when Brian came on, it became even better and exciting. Lila was this was her first feature, so it was kind of an unknown, and she was exciting as a personality. But I knew Jennifer, and she was venturing into something exciting, like the roles of her past, and I was excited to see that happen. Being married to an actress.
Sorry.
What?
Sorry, carry on.
I was just saying, being married to an actress, I always am excited about the actor's contribution to any project.
I was going to say that I've written a review for this, and that's the first thing that struck me about the performance that Jennifer gives. It's very stripped back. There's no glitz and glamour. It is very much. It recalls her performance in Winter's Bone very much. In terms of the look of the film, it's got quite a lived-in look, I think. So how did you go about in terms of production design? How did you go about achieving that look?
Well, taking the cue from the script, the story, it was a kind of a pared back and dealt with. I didn't want to make. We were shooting in New Orleans. The story took place in New Orleans, and I didn't want to make the town sensational and take away from the humanness of Lindsay, Jennifer's character. That the story needed to be told sort of from her world, and her world was not the New Orleans that we're used to seeing in more commercial films, but it was the New Orleans that was real, and that she didn't know that she liked it or not. We searched around to find locations that took place in New Orleans but didn't scream New Orleans. And I think that when we found her house, which was a location, it was so exciting because it was a house that most of the houses in New Orleans are row homes, and they're the same. And this one was a little different. It had windows on all sides. It wasn't locked up to another house, so it was good for lighting. It sort of set her apart, and it had kind of a timeless quality to it, even though it was worn down when we see it. It looked like at one time it might have been they might have had a nice family life there. I don't know what happened to her father, but her mother was there raising two kids, and it had to be difficult. And in that house, we're set it up to show sort of the overwhelmingness of life and what what you're left with. It's just, you can't do everything all the time. So a lot of us are overwhelmed by the day to day, and I think the mother, beautifully played, she was struggling not only to raise the kids, but to maintain the house, maintain her own social life. And then when we find out later that her son was a drug addict and actually in prison, it it starts to hint at the traumas that every character has. It's not just Lindsay with her brain concussion, but it's the mother and it's the son. So it's the whole family. And it came to my mind when I was watching the film that Lindsay was driving down the street and she overwhelmed by everything because she's just stepping back into real life and driving, in New Orleans, and a car like honks at her and yells or to get off the road. And it made me think that every day we kind of interact with people on the street and we don't know what traumas they're just experiencing or that they're carrying with them. And it made me feel that I need to be more aware of other people. And I like that about the film, that, we all have some baggage and some traumas that we're surviving and living with. And that's the quietness of the film. It gave me as an audience member time to reflect on that, and it made me want to be better, do better, be nicer to other people. So it's
that's like the best answer ever. And it actually follows my next question, which is, I was going to ask, how do you make it feel so naturalistic in terms of production design, which is, as you've sort of expanded massively on that already. But leading on from that, I've spoken to quite a few production designers and they talk about world building. But with this, I feel that you're building environments for the story to exist within rather than a world building thing, which it implies massive set pieces. So from your perspective, is it important for world building in production design, or do you build worlds or do you build environments?
Environments and worlds are kind of the same thing because our environment is our world. But I really work through character. And that's one thing that attracted to me, this piece, is that they were strong characters. I've worked on some films where the characters and their lives weren't important, and they're not as rewarding for me as, it's like every piece of furniture, every picture on the wall, every, dirty fork, is motivated by the character and, the characters. And so you want to create an environment that reflects their lives and tells the audience member in just a quick moment more about them. I think that's, as designers on this type of film, that's one of our challenges, and one of the excitements is that we can enlarge the character, or we can tell you more about the character because of their environment. Yeah.
I'm just looking more broadly at your other work. Obviously, you've worked with some very important filmmakers, I think. Terrence Malick being one, Paul Thomas Anderson being another, David Lynch and Mr. Iranitu. I hope I got that pronunciation correct. I saw. I'm terrible. I've been pondering over that pronunciation for hours. But I saw Bardo at the London Film Festival, and it's just an immense piece of work. And obviously, you work with him on The Revenant. My question is, in terms of working with Leela and her directing style, and obviously her focus on character, how does it differ with the other collaborators? Obviously, you famously work with.
Every director is different, in the way they work. Alejandro, when I met him, I sort of saw this passionate artist, and I said, this is not going to be easy, but it's going to be fun. And it pretty much turned out that way. I love Alejandro, and I loved his excitement and the way he approached the film. I mean, it really was a complete piece, and he was involved in, every punch, every fall. He'd be behind the monitor taking the kicks on the cold and everything. And I remember being out on location with Alejandro and Chivo, the cinematographer, and they would start thinking about a scene, and pretty soon they'd be wrestling on the ground and fighting and, running out into the water, and, above and beyond what, many directors, are able to do.
I got two more questions for you. Hopefully
Okay.
one's going to be nice and easy. One is, I guess, maybe obviously you've been doing this quite a while now, and you've got to work with all these wonderful people, and obviously you're married to a wonderful actress as well. But what still fascinates you about film? What still fascinates you about cinema that makes you want to, get out of bed in the morning and sort of jump into the next thing?
Well, when I look for films, generally I look for something that scares me a little bit. That's that I find myself concentrating on how to make it bigger, how to make it more important, how to make it, tell us more. So I think it's I operate out of fear, that I'm going to fail, and that's what I like. And when you do smaller films like Causeway, it'd be easy on the budget of Revenant or, even There Will Be Blood, but they trick you and they cut the budget way down and they cut the amount of time you have. And so it's like they're tying arms behind your back, but you're doing the same job, just on a much smaller scale, but they put financial limitations and stuff on you. So it kind of comes out about equal, I mean, the common thing in the art department is you never quite have enough money, you never quite have enough time, and that excites me. And I liked when I got into film, I got so excited because I was a painter, sculptor, and I was, I'd move from one studio to the other, and I'd have all this work, and I'd try to carry it with me, and things would get damaged, or I'd just get too tired and I'd just leave it in the cellar of the house I'm living in. And then when I got into film, I had the same excitement, building sets as I did building sculptures. And there seemed to be a purpose to it. And I wasn't alone like you are in a studio. There's other people around and you're interacting with them. So that was exciting. And then at the end, you just destroy the stuff. You didn't have to keep it. They recorded on film, so you could look at it later. You get much more recognition in film than you do in, fine arts, unless you're one of the top dogs. And I love the convenience of it, and I love I need pressure. I need some time limits and stuff to really work. So films provided all of that for me. And when I'm not working on a film, looking for a film, I wish I was working on a film. It's like I feel kind of complete when I'm pressured. And, when there's a challenge, I remember Paul Thomas Anderson asked me when we started There Would Be Blood, like, how are you going to build the derrick? And I remember saying, I don't know. I don't know, but I'll figure it out,
My last question is, and I ask this of everybody, can you describe for me your perfect Sunday afternoon?
When I'm working on a film, my perfect Sunday afternoon is wake up without an alarm, never get out of my pajamas, making French toast and reading and catching up. It's like a time when you can catch up. So I treasure Sundays because when I was younger, I worked 7 days a week, and now I take off Sundays, and it really is a time to collect yourself and make up on some of that sleep you lost during the week.
Look, this has been a real pleasure for me. I did genuinely love the film, and I've been trying to connect with you for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. So thank you very much for your time. And
I loved it.
and have a great rest of your day. Okay.
You too, and have a good holiday.
I will do, sir. You take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.